this country, and just to, play our role as the media in civic education and to help you understand which gap you can fill in all this process, even as it continues. And today, right here on Good Morning Kenya, we want to amplify the message on security during this election period. Of course, every Thursday, you remember, we always take time to talk about how you can be able to participate in meeting some of the requirements that we need in the society to make sure that we are a secure nation, secure communities, secure neighborhoods. And one way of doing that is to understand your neighbors. I know by saying this, you already know where I'm going. The Nyumba Kumi initiative that was begun way back in 2015, that is what we've tried over the past few months to amplify and talk about and to help you understand more about it. So today we dedicate this show on talking about security during this election period. And we want you to be a part of this conversation. At Safin_Ching is my Twitter handle. The hashtag is GMKKBC. And of course, as you send in your questions and your comments on the conversation that we are going to have this morning, I'll not be doing this alone. Of course, I'm joined by a panel of two, a lady and a gentleman. And just to introduce my guest on the show this morning, sitting from my far left is Miss Zippy Musyimi, who is a member of the National Committee of Citizen Participation on matters to do with security. And of course, we have Reverend Patrick Kuchio from Citam Valley Road right here in Nairobi. Of course, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, so today we are talking about something very, very key. We've been talking about peace, peace, peace. There's a lot of peace messages that we've had over the last few months that we've been preparing for this very special event in our country. But today it's all about security, because peace and security come hand in hand. Probably as an opener to this whole conversation, I would direct this question to you, Zippy. Just tell me why, from where you sit, is security such an important factor, especially during a time like the general election?
Thank you, Safin. Security is important all the time. Mm-hmm. We need security whether there is election or not. And to be able to enjoy security at moments like election, we need to have worked at it throughout our lives, mm-hmm. throughout our stays. And that's why we've been engaging and educating and equipping Kenyans. What ways can we maintain security? Because if there is no security, we will not even sleep well. Mm-hmm. Our children will not go to school. Our traders will not go to their markets. You will not come here to do your duty. Mm-hmm. The roads will not be passable because there's no security. And one of the things of a thriving nation, a nation that is stable, that is in charge of its affairs, mm-hmm. is to actually have security. So I think that's what we've been saying, that this nation is too important mm-hmm. to be insecure, yeah. because that's the basis of anything you want to do. You mm-hmm. want tourists, you need security. You want to move freely, you need security. You need to go to church, to the mosque, to the synagogue, yeah. you need security. It's an ingredient. Mm-hmm. And we feel that if the base is right, whatever comes up will be appropriated well. Mm-hmm. And we feel very strongly about that. Mm-hmm. We also acknowledge that it's a duty of all of us. It's not one person's duty. Mm-hmm. It's not the KDF or the police. It's not the GSU. Mm-hmm. It's not the chief. It's for all of us. You and I need to coexist. That's a sign of security. Mm-hmm.
I'll come back to you to let us know the how. How is the Mwananchi who is watching us this morning, how can they be able to be part of this conversation about security and to take action in that? But the same question I would like to direct to you, Reverend. Probably, why do you think security is such a key aspect? She says every time, not just during election, but just add your voice on what she has been able to touch on.
Thank you, Safin. I couldn't agree more with my friend Zippy, that we all need a secure environment to actually thrive. It's a fundamental for any coexisting people, for any meaningful activity to happen. So even we religious leaders fully back the message of security because we are agents of peace. The Bible does tell us, mm-hmm. blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God, mm-hmm. sons of God. Mm-hmm. So if at all you claim to be a son of God, a child of God, God-fearing person, regardless of your religion, then you must be concerned about security. There are various examples we see in scripture when security was breached and the negative consequences that followed. So we strongly call upon all citizens to take responsibility for the security of our nation. Let's not go the way of Cain and Abel, where Cain killed his brother Abel, and when he was asked about his brother, he said, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Yes, we are our brother's keeper. Regardless of their tribe, race, color, creed, we are one another's keeper.
Okay, thank you for that. And coming back to you, Zippy, probably at the National Committee, you deal with the citizens and you try to educate them on matters to do with security. What is it that you would share with us this morning in terms of a formula that you came up with that as we have been preparing for this general election, you've used and it has worked for you in terms of making sure that the message of security gets home, and probably how is the uptake or the results that you can be able to share with us this morning?
Thank you, Safin. We decided as a committee that security should not be that complicated. And we started the conversation by saying, can we manage security in small groups?
Yeah.
And that's where the Nyumba Kumi concept comes in. It's not 1, 2, 3, up to 10 numerical. It's a neighborhood understanding. Because what happens is when people live together, they actually do know one another. And we looked at, for instance, the chief. Chief is a very important person. I don't know that you're aware of that.
Yeah, true.
Chief is the
They
only
know every
person who
homestead.
works in his own environment.
It's true.
So they know who is born, they know the people who
Yeah.
have died, they know the not too good elements, they know the next neighborhood. And we said, if we take the chief as a locus, and we say, let's congregate around that location, because Kenya is very well subdivided. Everybody knows each other. That way, we will be able to know, do we have a new person? We welcome them in our community. They will understand how we live. It will be very difficult for somebody with a criminal element to want to really do the evil thing. You know why? Because they are known. Because in a cluster, you know each other. You go to the same churches. You go to the same markets. Children go to
Attend
the same
schools.
schools. Where are you going to hide? And as the pastor has said, we wanted them to know you're your brother's keeper. Be as concerned about what I do the way you're concerned with what you do.
Yeah.
It's not because we are peering. We just want to take each other, want to do governance amongst ourselves. We want to take accountability. Then we also looked at, because we are governed by terms of reference, we also looked at who are the other leaders. You know, they are the juakalis in our markets. They are the religious leaders. You'll be surprised that the religious leaders, if they were to participate actively and talk to their congregants or to the people who go to their places of worship, nearly 40% of Kenyans will be reached on peace. So you sort out 40%. Then we are talking about saying that they have a critical role. Can you imagine they engage their congregants at least once
In a week.
If
Or more times.
you know,
Some
if that
churches
message
start
is
caches on
just
Friday.
spoken
Yeah.
and becomes
Very
our
true.
normal conversation, then we demystify and then we get into the habit. Now, we've also been going to schools. We've talked a lot to schools, to private institutions, to universities, to say we see a lot of danger coming through the universities. At that age, you know, they are thriving, they are just in charge, they're independent, but someone can misuse that. And we are saying, while you're becoming independent in decision making, please choose. So we are in the where they come from, but we are also at the institutions. We have even gone ahead to the Juakali. Do you know a lot of things are actually done at the Juakali?
Yeah.
Oh, these bombs, homemade. Who do you think does them? And telling the Juakali, you may be making your money, but please make sure that you are secure. So we've tried to reach every pocket where the Kenyan is and saying we only leave about 7% to actually what you call government policing agencies. And then the work is lighter. So about 93% of the
It's
work
left
is
to the
actually
Mwananchi.
amongst us. Don't you think that is a critical
It's a very critical.
percentage?
It is.
So if you and I don't do it, we are actually contributing to insecurity. If you look at the levels of aggression I think from about 2015, we must say that they have reduced. We are not saying that there has not been pockets here and there. As I said earlier, it's difficult to eliminate insecurity. But the reduction of the risks has been substantial. And that is what we are saying. That conversation continues even after elections.
I like that, what you shared with me even earlier, that, we cannot fully eliminate insecurity, but we can be able to play a role to reduce the gaps in insecurity. And she has talked about religious leaders and that they work closely. You are among some of the, teams that they work with to make sure that their message gets home.
Yes.
Probably from your end, what are some of the strategies that you feel, religious leaders have been able to do in their own capacity with this congregation that they have? Some even cosmopolitan, populations, like here in Nairobi, people come from all different tribes. They've come here to earn a living and they attend a particular church. What have you been able to do with such an opportunity to make sure that you play your role in all this?
Thank you, Safin. The Bible makes it very clear in Proverbs 14 that, verse 1, that the wise woman builds her own house. But the part B of that verse says, but with her own hands, the foolish one destroys her house. We as religious leaders have taken initiative to educate our congregants. We have been running series from the pulpits where we are teaching our congregants on subjects of tolerance, loving your neighbor, as Christ would actually instruct us to. We have demystified the message of love and acceptance. We also have our own Nyumba Kumi initiative of some sort. We call them cells or small groups, Bible study groups that meet weekly in the estates. These have been centers of instruction where we've been impacting and challenging our members, telling them, rise up above your tribal prejudices and stereotypes, accept responsibility for the future, the current situation of our country. Let's do what children of God are supposed to do. So we've been using both the pulpits to educate, to teach, to preach, but we've also been using our small groups. We've had conferences, we've had seminars. We've just been talking about the prosperity of our nation. What are the fundamental pillars? We've been engaging government as well. We have teams that have been doing papers. We've been engaging various government organs, telling them we are interested, we are keen. We've also been praying. So the church hasn't just been praying for the well-being of this country and for the security and peace of our nation. We've been engaging government. We've been engaging back and forth. But amongst ourselves, we have said we will take responsibility. We will not whip up tribal and partisan emotions in our congregants. We will not do that. I am well aware that some religious leaders, once in a while, this time I must commend our religious leaders. It's not as bad as it was in 2007, coming to 2008. But this time we said, you know what? Keep your own biases, your own...
I was about to come to that, probably as you respond.
Yes.
The church, I've had a chance to, host a few religious leaders on this set to talk about issues that are more or less related to what you're talking about today.
Yes.
And the church has been accused of being partisan. And the other issue also is that the church is not as loud as it used to be way back on issues that affect this country. The church is actually behind the politicians. And politics is playing a bigger role in church as opposed to the other way around. What can you be able to say about that?
Safin, I would like to distinguish between being political and being partisan. At times, the citizens of our country do not expect religious leaders to take a political position. We do take political positions. I have my political position, but I cannot, for the constituents that I represent, because I pastor people from across the divide. That is my topmost personal secret. When I become partisan is where I begin to perpetuate the policies, the manifestos of one political alignment, and I even disenfranchised the membership by publicly endorsing a particular side.
Political candidates,
But I have my own political, I am a citizen. I have a responsibility to engage in the political process.
And it's your right.
It's my right to actually choose the right candidate. However, it is unfortunate when me as a religious leader become very insensitive and disenfranchise the constituents that I lead. So I agree that to an extent we have been partisan, but if I compare this year or this season to previous seasons, we have been more sober. I do appreciate that we are different levels of engagement, we are different levels of appreciating our national role, which impacts the religious leaders. But I'll also say we have not been as quiet. We've just changed strategy. It is true that in previous years we've had religious leaders who've been very vocal, who have engaged in mass action, who've demonstrated, who have made noise. But I can tell you for a fact, Safin, we have been very strategic in educating, in intentionally discipling our members on what is their role as patriotic citizens. What would the Bible have them do? So we may not make a lot of noise. We may not shout from the rooftops, but I can tell you for a fact, the church that I belong to, the 45,000 plus people, we've been very intentional. We said we will teach our members, we will not disenfranchise them, but we will help them take up their God-given mandate as citizens of this nation. So I would say yes and no.
Yes and no. And one thing I carry from
contribute
that,
to what he has said.
One thing I carry from that is that as a religious leader, you ought to be objective.
Absolutely.
You may have your own affiliations, but
Yes.
that is your own individual
Yes.
decision. When you are you're wearing the cap of a religious leader,
Yes.
you ought to be very objective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Non-partisan.
Add your voice on that.
I am very grateful to hear what he's saying. You know, they say that strategy follows structure. And you have to look at the alignment and the situation, because that's the structure, and then decide what weapon do I use. You know, you don't want to use a gun to kill a mosquito, as they say. So what the church role is actually a check and balance, because the church is a government on its own. If government is completely off mark, the people know that they have another voice. That's a platform. So it's not a platform to be misused, and it's not a place to make noise. But engaging does not necessarily mean being seen and be heard on rooftops, as he has said. So the church's strategy has been the mushroom. And that's why we've worked with them very closely. We trained about 4,000 of their members at Valley Road, because we are saying, look, what we want is the end result. The strategy of how to do it doesn't have to be what was happening in the 90s and in the 80s. It's a different game. And a different game requires different levels of engagement. The other thing I think the church has done is to say, look, last year when we met with them, their media houses, over 43 of them, they said one thing in our meeting, that they will never, 2007 will not be repeated. Not them perpetuating it or taking sides. And Safin, if you've been following, we have engaged and we have had support of the faith-based media houses. This is the second year running. Wherever we are, they are there. They broadcast, you can watch it through Sayare. They talk about it, it's on radio. They interview, they are very dedicated. I sit here to say, I think I have seen the contract, the more or less drew, because you know when you say things, you draw a contract. What they committed themselves to say, they say they will live their values of their faiths. I think we start today to say they have been very discretionary. They've just been praying. You know, that's what they know best. So that they must do. They will also talk, but they have done more praying, which is very powerful, more teaching, more empowering their people, And then when they need to talk, they have spoken. Because also church doesn't speak for the sake of speaking. They are strategic speakers. They can mislead. And they need to be very careful
Absolutely.
that they are understood. So let's not judge them because they are not
As
pulpits
loud.
and they don't have to demonstrate. There's no reason
Let
to.
me just ask this out of curiosity.
Yes.
There has been that effort that both of you are sharing with me this morning to, you know, enlighten, you know, the public on these issues to do with security. But looking at what is happening right now, when I was coming to work today, yesterday, there are
Yes.
people traveling a lot,
Yeah.
going back to, going up country, and there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear here and there.
Yeah.
Would you say that, you know, this message has sunk in the hearts of Kenyans and they have the confidence that their neighborhoods are secure and they can move on with their lives even after Tuesday?
I think this is where we take on leaders. And there are three kinds of leaders, Safin. There's the anointed, where a pastor
False.
and his colleagues fall, and that there's nothing you can do about it. They have a position, they have a voice, and they have a mandate to achieve. Then you have the elected, which is what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. And after the elected, you have the appointed. Leaders have influence over the people that follow them. Pastor has just said what they have been doing to the followers. The elected will have an influence over their leaders. And the question is, what have the elected been doing? Leadership is supposed to offer hope and a reason to wake up tomorrow too. Do we have leaders that are making us feel hopeless? Do we have leaders that actually don't like this motherland? They talk about it in a manner that is painful. Do we have leaders who behave as if they just come to govern us and go, they are not part of us? It's like the problem is ours, they are not part of it. They could be responsible for their utterances. And that's why we are saying, Kenyans, do you need to be given hope or to be made a destitute? That is not what we want. And that's where the voice of reason and reflection comes in. Since we have heard and we have been taught, surely an over 18 has a brain of their own.
True.
We really have to think and say, you cannot change. They say beaten once, twice shy. Actually, this election needs to be so peaceful that we don't have to stock up. And we don't have to pick mattresses and go home. That to say, you know what, we will vote and we will go to work the following day. So that we don't change our confession. We say we will be peaceful, then we pack our bags and go. So we leave ourselves vulnerable. If we speak it, let us steal it.
Yeah.
And then, so I think we have a problem also. We need to believe in the words that we say.
That we
say they are powerful. We believe in ourselves.
Yes.
We trust our security. We trust ourselves that we will not be misused. We trust the people we will elect. And if they bring trouble to our fault, we will refuse. That's a decision we can make.
It's good that you're saying that, because despite the efforts that all stakeholders have made to preach peace,
Yes.
and even Wananchi saying that we will not allow ourselves to go back to 207,
Yes.
there's still a section of the society that are still not confident enough that after Tuesday, it will be business as usual. It's like every time in this country when there's a general election, people pack and they start over after some months after the election. It's really unfortunate that we are doing that as a country. Coming to you, Patrick.
Yes.
Probably every person is saying, you know, nationhood is important.
Yes.
I am a Kenyan first before I say where I come from. But, you know, still there is that aspect of tribalism that has affected how we make political decisions in this country. And we've seen a lot of political intolerance. People not ready to accept one another for their differences, tribe-wise and political-wise. Where do you think, you know, the gap is and how do we feel it? We just have 4 days to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the fabric of our society, Safin, is very tribal. Negative ethnicity has been perpetuated over the years. And my persuasion that it will take a generational change for us to part company with every form of tribal prejudice. There's a generation that is coming that cares for nothing about your tribe, that cares for nothing about your shags. There's a generation that is coming in this country that is educated, that is persuaded that negative ethnicity is backward, it is barbaric, it is retrogressive. The millennials are coming. And they have watched the narrative, they've listened to the narrative, and I can confidently tell you, Safin, I'm sure Zip will agree with me, that there comes a time in the history of any society when a narrative becomes completely irrelevant and outdated. I am one of those I can confidently say on national TV, I have absolutely no inclination towards tribal prejudices. I do not care about your tribe. I do not care about your origin. And there's people, once Kenya has this critical mass of people who care for no tribal prejudices, I can confidently say things will be different. I am not a prophet, neither am I a son of a prophet. But I can tell you that the style of politics in Kenya is going to change. Come 2022, we will see the end of tribal chiefdoms and fiefdoms. They are ending with this general election. They're ending with this political season and dispensation. A new day is coming. And let me announce to every tribal chief and every tribal kingpin, your days are numbered. Because our people have come on the scene who care for nothing about the lies that you've told Kenyans.
Yeah.
We have had it, and the time is here. There is nothing that can stand in the way of an idea whose time has come, and that idea is now.
We like people who bring hope, like you, people who see a future that is more positive.
Yes.
You're saying a time will come when there's going to be a generation that will they will bury tribalism.
Absolutely.
And in a bit I'll be talking to, I believe, some of that future generation, a group of young guys calling themselves Vijana Bila Ukabila. For them, they say, Niko na kabila, but sina ukabila. So they'll tell us more about what they've been able to do to fight tribalism in this country.
Yes.
But I'm told we're supposed to be bringing this to a close. Not before, Zippy, I ask you, what is the role of Mwananchi in ensuring that there is security during this electioneering period?
So my call to my fellow Kenyans is that you have a duty to maintain peace. It's a personal responsibility. We have no way of enforcing you except you ask for it. So go to the polling station with an intention to do well or go back home, because that's what peace is. We are saying that you are a good gate, and a good gate gives a good entrance. Don't be a blockage. Be a facilitator. A port allows a ship to sail through and dock. Kenya is a gate to this continent.
It is.
Please know how important we are to the rest of the world. We don't belong to ourselves. We are here not by mistake, by God's purpose and design. We want to tell our leaders that this nation has an owner, and the owner is called God. And the citizens are the children of God. And leaders are elected, anointed, appointed, because God delegates that authority to them. They have a responsibility to do good and to do well. They are not chosen to mistreat, to mislead, and to misguide, because they'll be held accountable, but because Kenyans who are voting are mature citizens. Don't allow yourself to be misled. Don't follow for the sake of following. Follow where there is hope and where there is a future. I think that is what I would like to tell Kenyans.
Okay. Thank you for that, Reverend.
Thank you, Safin. Very well put, Zippy. I'll also add my voice to it and say, on Tuesday, please go and vote, the right person. Don't go and vote the popular person, but vote for the right candidate, from top all the way to the MCA. The right person might not necessarily be from your tribe, from your clan, from your relation, from your friends, but vote the right person. And it is a fact that there is no authority that exists, says the Bible in Romans 13, except that which God has established. So vote for the right person. And at times, the right person doesn't necessarily mean he's a perfect person, but the best amongst those available. We will tell you that at times, the right person might lose, but accept it as God's will. At times, the most popular person might lose. That is the nature of democracy. But accept, do your bit, leave the rest to God. This nation, like Zippy rightly said, belongs to God. The Bible says in Proverbs 24, Psalm 24, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and the people that dwell therein. Kenya does not belong to any dynasty. Kenya does not belong to any tribe, to any individual. Kenya belongs to the God who made all of us, and we are his. So let's vote the right people.
Vote the right people, not the popular person. That was Reverend Patrick Kuchio from Citam Valley Road. And also I was having Ms. Zippy Musyimi, who is a member of CPS right here in Kenya. Of course, thank you so much. We were talking about matter security during this electioneering period. And now I know you understand your role. With just 4 days to go, are you ready? And is IEBC ready? Yes, that is what my colleague Martin Mwanje will be talking about, as he will be engaging Commissioner Roslyn Akombe in just a bit to tell us what they've been able to do so far in preparation for the general election, and of course what they will be doing in the remaining few days up until the D-Day. Keep us company for that conversation that is coming in a bit. My name is Safina Ching. I will be back with Vijana Bila Ukabila to talk about how we can be able to fight tribalism in this country.